The police called. Your son killed himself. We need someone to come identify the body. I said, I only have a daughter. I don't have a son. They still insisted, Sir, please come right now. If you don't, we'll send a unit to pick you up. 10 minutes later, I was driving through freezing rain toward the Franklin County Coroner's office, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, my mind refusing to accept a word of it. My name is Caleb Hart. I'm 56 years old, and I've spent my life believing I knew exactly who my family was. When I walked into the morgue and they pulled back the white sheet, I staggered back because the face staring up at me looked like it had been carved out of my own bones. Have you ever had one phone call rewrite your entire life? And if so, where are you watching from? And what time is it for you right now? The dispatch number was still glowing on my truck's screen when I pulled into the coroner's lot. Freezing rain tapped the windshield. I sat there one more breath, trying to make my brain accept the sentence they'd thrown at me. Your son killed himself. I didn't have a son. My ex-wife Lydia left when Emma was 3. No note, no forwarding address. Just a lawyer and a new last name. I'd learned to live without answers, but I'd never lived with questions about my own blood. And now the police were telling me I'd missed an entire child. By accident, by fraud, or design. I owned a body shop on the south side of Columbus, Ohio. I rebuilt engines and frames after wrecks. I knew what was real, and I knew my family. It was just me and my daughter, Emma Hart, 24, ER nurse. The only kid I'd ever carried on my shoulders or grounded for breaking curfew. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered, This is Caleb. Mr. Hart, the same voice said. This is Officer Landry. You're almost here? I'm in the parking lot, I said. Tell me again why you're doing this. Sir, the deceased listed you as next of kin. We need a positive ID. I told you, I said. I don't have a son. A pause. Then you can tell the detective that in person. I ended the call before my temper got ahead of my judgment. Headlights swept across the lot. A silver Honda slid into the space beside me. Emma climbed out, hair in a knot, scrubs under a winter coat. Even through the rain, she moved with that hospital urgency, like if she stopped walking, someone would code. She opened my passenger door. Dad, please tell me this is a mistake. It has to be, I said, but they're not acting like it. She climbed in and shut the door hard. For a second, neither of us spoke. I could hear her breathing, fast but controlled. You didn't, she started, then stopped. You don't have any old secrets, right? Nothing in me felt like laughing. Emma, I've had the same shop for 19 years. If I had a secret son, I'd at least have a secret pair of shoes in my closet. Her eyes shined, but she didn't cry. Okay, she said. Then we handle it, like a chart, like a case. We stepped out into the wet cold. Inside, the lobby smelled like bleach and paperwork. A woman in a wool coat stood near the security desk, badge clipped to her belt. Mid-40s, tired eyes that didn't waste time pretending this job was gentle. Caleb Hart? She asked. That's me. I'm Detective Renee Alvarez, she said, extending a hand. Her grip was quick and professional. This is your daughter. Emma, I said. My only child. Alvarez's gaze held on my face like she was measuring my reaction. Mr. Hart, I need a few answers before we go back. Is this some kind of scam? Emma snapped. Because I swear. Alvarez raised one palm. Not a scam. The reason you were contacted is because the decedent had your name and address, and you were listed as next of kin in his effects. I felt my pulse in my teeth. His. Alvarez nodded once. Male, mid-20s. I don't know him, I said. I don't have a son. Did you ever donate sperm? She asked. No. Any children placed for adoption? No. Any paternity claims you ignored? My throat tightened. No. Alvarez shifted to Emma. Do you know anyone who would use your father's information? Emma shook her head. We don't even put his address on forms. I use mine. Alvarez exhaled slowly. All right, then we do this the right way. You'll view the body. If it's not your family, we document it, and we investigate why your information was used. Emma's voice dropped. And if it is? The question landed heavy. Alvarez didn't soften it. Then we open a different file. Emma's hand found my sleeve. Light pressure, steadying herself, and maybe me too. Alvarez led us down a corridor lit by fluorescent tubes. The tile squeaked under every step. Halfway to the back, I stopped. My lungs wouldn't fill right. I pressed 2 fingers to my wrist, checking my pulse like I was the patient. Dad, Emma whispered. I'm fine, I lied, because I wasn't. I was a man walking toward a room that could prove my whole life had a missing page. We reached a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Alvarez turned to face us. Mr. Hart, she said, voice low, once you see him, you can't unsee him. If you need a minute, take it now. Emma's eyes stayed on the handle. Do it, she said, almost to herself. I looked at my daughter, my certainty, and nodded. Okay, I said, show me. Detective Alvarez opened the door, and the cold hit me like the room exhaled. Stainless steel, harsh light, bleach in the air. A man in scrubs nodded at her and didn't look at us twice. We were a family walking into the worst 5 minutes of our lives. You don't have to touch him, Alvarez said. Just look at the face. The sheet was tucked under the chin. The attendant pinched the corner and waited. Go ahead, Alvarez said. White slid down slowly. For a heartbeat, my brain refused to translate what my eyes were seeing. Then the shape of a jaw, the slope of a nose, the hard cut of cheekbone snapped into focus. I stumbled back one step because my knees tried to fold. The young man on that table looked like a stranger built from my parts. Same cleft in the chin, same ears that stick out just a fraction, same gray-blue eyes, half open, fixed on nothing. Mid-20s. Darker hair than mine, but the way it waved at the temples was familiar in a way that made my stomach turn. Emma made a sound like air leaving her chest. Her hand covered her mouth. Her other hand found my sleeve and held on. Dad, she whispered, he looks like us. I tried to speak. My tongue didn't work. Alvarez kept her voice low. This is why we needed you here. I forced my lungs to pull in. Name, I said. What's his name? Ethan Cross, Alvarez answered. 25, short-term lease on the east side. Cross, not Hart. Emma's eyes sharpened, nurse brain kicking in even through shock. That's an adoption name, she said, or a changed name. I couldn't stop staring. Ethan's wrists held faint purple rings, too even, too deliberate. There were smaller bruises on the inside of his arms, like someone had clamped down hard. Suicide? I asked, and the word tasted wrong. That's what the scene was staged to suggest, Alvarez said. Pills, a locked bathroom door, but the medical tells a different story. She gestured to the bruising. Restraint marks and toxicology found sedatives that weren't prescribed to him. Emma leaned in just enough to see without touching. Petechiae, she murmured, pointing near the eyelids. That can happen with asphyxiation. Alvarez held her gaze. We're waiting on the full report, but yes, I'm treating this as suspicious. My heartbeat turned loud. Someone made it look like he chose it. And someone cleaned him out, Alvarez said. No laptop, no phone, no photos. His apartment was almost empty, like he was only here long enough to do one thing. I finally tore my eyes away from Ethan's face and looked at Alvarez. Why was my name on him? Alvarez opened a folder and slid a business card across the counter. The edges curled from rain. Hart & Son Auto Body. My design. My address. My number. Emma stared. Dad, you stopped using those years ago. I know, I said, voice flat. I haven't printed those since before Lydia left. Alvarez watched my reaction like she was reading a gauge. So either he wanted to find you, or someone wanted him connected to you. Emma's grip tightened. He listed you as next of kin, she said softly. He chose you. The idea hit me harder than the cold. A son I didn't know, reaching for me at the end. Alvarez closed the folder. Mr. Hart, I need you to tell me about your ex-wife. My throat tightened. Why? Because Ethan's phone records show his second-to-last call was to a number registered to Caldwell Private Wealth, she said. The account holder on file is Lydia Caldwell. Emma's head snapped up. Caldwell. Married name, Alvarez confirmed. She's been in Columbus for years. My mouth went dry right there. She told me she moved out of state. Alvarez's eyes stayed. Then she lied again. And if Ethan tried to contact her and he ended up dead 3 days later, we have a problem. I looked back at the table. The sheet rested at Ethan's collarbone now, like the world had decided that was enough truth for one night. Alvarez's voice softened, just a fraction. Do you want a moment? No, I said. The word came out like steel. I want answers. And I want to know what Lydia Caldwell did to my son. I didn't remember walking back through the corridor. I remembered the sound of Emma's boots on tile. I remembered the way Detective Alvarez didn't rush us, like she knew time doesn't work the same after you see a body. And I remembered the business card in my hand, damp at the corners, like proof that the past could reach out and grab you by the throat. In the parking lot, the freezing rain had turned into needles. Emma leaned against her car and stared at the dark sky like she was waiting for it to explain itself. "I need air," she said. "We're outside," I replied. She looked at me then, eyes bright, jaw clenched. "I need air that doesn't smell like bleach and death." I nodded because I didn't have anything better. Detective Alvarez stood under the awning, phone to her ear, speaking low. When she hung up, she came over. "Mr. Hart," she said, "I'm going to be blunt. Ethan Cross is likely your biological son. The resemblance is not coincidence, and the paper trail is strange." "What paper trail?" I asked. "We found a sealed envelope in his jacket pocket," she said. "Not a letter, a document request form, Franklin County Vital Records. It's not complete, but the name he was requesting access to is Lydia Caldwell, your ex-wife." Emma's voice turned sharp. "So he was trying to get his own records?" Alvarez nodded. "And he was trying to locate her. He made contact with Caldwell Private Wealth, 13 minutes, 3 days before he died." My hands curled into fists inside my coat pockets. She knew. "Maybe," Alvarez said. "Or someone at that office did. But now we have to be careful. If this was staged as a suicide, whoever did it planned ahead." Emma stepped forward. "What do you need from us?" Alvarez looked at her for a beat, like she respected the directness. "Anything you have that establishes Lydia's history. Addresses, names, dates, emails, old court filings. If I'm going to get a warrant, I need a timeline I can prove." I heard myself say, "I have boxes." Emma glanced at me. "The closet in the shop." I nodded. I kept everything after she left, not because I wanted to, because I had a kid to raise and I learned you don't throw away your leverage. Alvarez handed me a card. "Call me when you have it organized. And Mr. Hart, do not go to Lydia Caldwell's house." I wasn't planning to, I lied, and she knew it. Her eyes stayed on mine. "You get one chance to do this clean. If you contaminate the situation, her attorneys will eat the case alive." Emma cut in. "We'll do it clean." Alvarez's gaze shifted to her, then softened slightly. "Good. Go home. Get some sleep." Emma let out a humorless breath. "Sleep?" Alvarez didn't argue. "Then go work. I'll be in touch." On the drive back, Emma stared out the passenger window. The wipers slapped back and forth like a metronome, trying to keep time with my heartbeat. I kept seeing Ethan's face. The cleft in his chin, the half-open eyes, the bruises. At a red light, Emma finally spoke. "Dad," she said quietly, "Lydia didn't just leave us. She took him." I gripped the wheel harder. "We don't know that." Emma turned toward me. "We do. You heard the detective. That card in his pocket. Your old card. He was looking for you, and Lydia's name is on his trail. People don't accidentally vanish a baby. That takes paperwork, hospitals, signatures." The light turned green. I drove. My shop was dark when we pulled in. The sign out front, Hart and Son Auto Body, glowed faintly in the rain. I'd named it like a joke once, back when I still believed my life would go the way I planned. Now it felt like a cruel prophecy. But inside, the air smelled like metal and paint and old motor oil. Familiar. Safe. Emma flicked on the fluorescents, and the garage came alive in hard white light. I walked straight to the back office. A metal file cabinet sat against the wall. On top of it, a cardboard box labeled Lydia, Court, Medical in my handwriting. Emma watched me pull it down. "You really kept it all." "I kept what I could," I said. "When she left, she took the family photos. I kept the receipts and the paperwork. It turns out those matter more." I dumped the box onto my desk. Envelopes, folded documents, old phone bills, a copy of our marriage certificate, a small spiral notebook with Emma's preschool schedule on the first pages. My hands shook as I touched it. Not grief, anger, controlled, tight, hot anger. Emma grabbed another box from the shelf. "We need a system," she said, "or we'll drown in this." She found a blue binder in the supply drawer, the kind I used for insurance claims. She slapped it on the desk like a gavel. "Paper power," she said, and for the first time that night, her voice steadied. "We build a case." She wrote on a sticky note and stuck it to the front. Ethan. Then she started making tabs. Marriage, birth, addresses, names, financial, anything. I watched my daughter take my chaos and turn it into structure, and something in my chest shifted. Not relief, not peace, but a direction. My phone buzzed. An email from Detective Alvarez. Subject line, Ethan Cross, initial findings. I opened it with my thumb. Last known address, East Columbus. No active social media. No employer listed in Ohio. One emergency contact. L. Caldwell. Number disconnected. Second to last call. Caldwell Private Wealth. Duration 13 minutes. Last call. Unregistered burner. And then one more line. Coroner recovered a folded receipt from Ethan's pocket. Moretti's Bistro, 2 meals, paid cash. Date, 2 days before death. Emma leaned over my shoulder, reading. He met someone, she said. Yeah, I replied, staring at the words until they blurred. And I'm starting to think it was his mother. Emma's eyes met mine. So what do we do? I looked at the blue binder, at the tab labeled Ethan, at the wet business card still on my desk like a challenge. We document, I said. Well, we don't rush. We don't break the law. We don't give Lydia Caldwell a way out. I paused, hearing Detective Alvarez's warning in my head. Do not go to her house. But the truth was already moving, and I could feel it. We find out who Grant Caldwell really is, I said, because if Lydia built a new life, she didn't build it alone. Emma nodded once. And if Ethan tried to expose them, I finished for her. Then they made sure he couldn't. By 3:40 a.m., the blue binder felt less like office supply and more like leverage for once. Emma sat at my desk in her scrubs, sliding papers into sleeves with the same calm precision she used at work. I kept my laptop open and did what I've done for decades when something comes in broken, find the point of impact. Grant Caldwell's name was everywhere once you searched past the glossy headlines. Caldwell Private Wealth, Caldwell Foundation, photo ops with mayors and hospital administrators. Lydia stood beside him, older than I remembered, smile practiced. Board members, Emma said, probate attorney, former bank compliance, a CPA who used to do litigation. People you hire when you don't want money to leave fingerprints, I said. I dug into older archives, 7 years back, a civil complaint over misrepresentation and unsuitable recommendations. Settled, dismissed. 4 years back, a widower sued over fees and products he didn't understand. Withdrawn. Another complaint after that, then silence. Smoke without fire, because someone kept paying for quiet. Emma leaned closer. Why withdraw if you were right? Because shame is cheaper than court, I said. And fear is cheaper than shame. Detective Alvarez texted, any progress? I replied, pattern of civil complaints plus settlements. Lydia tied to Grant, possible pipeline through grief groups, working on targets. Emma's eyes moved to the Moretti's receipt. 2 meals, paid cash, 2 days before Ethan died. He met someone who didn't want a card trail, she said. Or someone who knows how trails work, I answered. The shop bell chimed just after sunrise. Marcus Reed stepped in, rein on his shoulders, face tight, like he'd been holding his breath. Caleb, you okay? He asked. Office, I said. When the door shut, Marcus lowered his voice. I got a call last night from a woman. Said I should stop seeing Lydia. Said it wasn't safe. Emma went still. You're seeing Lydia Caldwell? Marcus blinked. You know her? She's my ex-wife, I said. Her real name is Lydia Hart. Color drained from him. I met her at Grief Share at First Trinity. 6 weeks. She said her husband died overseas. Said she was starting over. Emma's voice turned clinical. Has she talked about money? Marcus hesitated. That pause was the confession. She mentioned her husband could protect my savings, he said. I have a meeting Friday. How much? I asked. $690,000, he admitted. Life insurance, house sale, everything. The binder on my desk felt heavier. Ethan hadn't died in a vacuum. He'd died near the mouth of a machine, and Marcus was already halfway inside it. Marcus, I said, keeping my voice level. A young man named Ethan died 3 nights ago. They staged it as suicide. The detective says it's homicide, and his phone records point straight to Caldwell's office. Marcus's hands tightened on the chair back. Why are you telling me this? I looked him in the eye. Because I'm his father. And I only found out last night. He stared at me, then nodded once, hard. Tell me what you need? We keep you alive, I said, and we keep this clean. My phone rang. Detective Alvarez, I answered. Talk to me. Full tox is back, she said. Ethan was sedated, restrained, and forced to swallow. Homicide. And Lydia Caldwell is speaking tomorrow at a foundation luncheon at the Westin. I want you and Emma there, public place, eyes everywhere. But you do not approach her without me." Emma was already writing Westin, 11:30 a.m. on a sticky note and slapping it onto the binder. Marcus rubbed his palms over his jeans like he was trying to wipe off the last 6 weeks. "If she's there," he said, "she'll see me." "Good," Alvarez answered through the speaker when Emma asked, "Do you want witnesses?" "I want receipts," Alvarez said. "Bring every message, every email, every meeting invite. And Marcus, don't sign anything, not even a napkin. If she reaches for your wallet, I want her hand filmed." I stared at Marcus, who was bracing himself like he was waiting for a blow. "Detective," I said, "she's already hunting." "And now," Alvarez replied, "we hunt back." The Westin ballroom smelled like coffee and expensive perfume. Lydia Caldwell stood under her foundation banner, laughing for cameras, one hand resting on Grant's forearm like she owned the room. I stayed near the back with Emma and Detective Alvarez, collar up, cap low, the blue binder pressed to my ribs. Marcus walked in late on purpose. Lydia's eyes found him instantly. Her smile warmed, rehearsed, and precise. "There," Alvarez murmured. "Do not engage unless I tell you." Lydia crossed the room with a champagne flute she never drank from. "Marcus," she said, soft enough to sound intimate over the crowd. "I was worried. You didn't answer last night." "I was asleep," Marcus said. Emma's phone stayed angled toward them, recording. Lydia's gaze flicked past Marcus and landed on me for half a second. No recognition, just appraisal. She was doing math. Marcus cleared his throat. "This is my friend, Cal Mason. He just sold his shop in Toledo, new in town." "Cal," Lydia repeated, tasting the name. "I'm Lydia." Her hand was cool, manicured. I shook it and released quickly. "Pleasure." "We should all sit," she said. "Grant is speaking soon. Afterward, come by the office. He loves helping people in transition." In transition, grief, loss, the hook. Alvarez's voice in my ear was quiet. "Good. Let her invite you." After the luncheon, Lydia guided us through the lobby like we were already clients. Grant didn't appear. Instead, a young man in a suit met us with a tablet. "Mr. Reed," he said, "and you must be Cal Mason. Before Mr. Caldwell meets you, we'll need a few items." Emma's head lifted. "Items?" "Proof of funds," the man said politely, "and a brief background check. Compliance." My stomach tightened. That wasn't in our plan. Grant Caldwell wasn't careless. He was careful. Lydia's smile stayed soft, but her eyes sharpened. "It's routine," she said. "Grant's clients expect discretion." The man slid a page across the marble counter. "And a signed NDA." The language was thick and aggressive, silence dressed up as professionalism. Emma skimmed it fast. "This says you can't disclose." "Emma," I murmured, warning. I picked up the pen, then set it down. "I don't sign things I don't understand," I said, playing the role. "My attorney handles NDAs." For the first time, Lydia's smile flickered, a hairline crack. "Of course," she said. "We can have our counsel speak with yours." I nodded, calm on the outside, burning on the inside. If I refused, I was a bad mark. If I signed, I handed them a weapon. Alvarez touched my elbow. "We pivot," she whispered. We left with Lydia still smiling, but her eyes tracked me as if she'd felt something she couldn't name. Outside, Marcus exhaled like he'd been underwater. "That was a test," Alvarez said. "Grant is screening you, so we give him what he wants," I replied. "Real enough to bite." Back at my shop, Emma made one call and put it on speaker. Attorney Simon Price listened for 30 seconds, then said, "Don't sign their NDA. I'll send a mutual version that protects you. Legit firms negotiate. Crooks insist." Alvarez added, "And this compliance step helps me justify warrants for Caldwell's internal communications." That night, Marcus forwarded every text Lydia had ever sent him, prayers, heart emojis, and gentle pressure about Friday. Emma printed them and tabbed the section, grooming. And if Lydia recognized me, even for a blink, we'd be dead men walking. So I kept my voice steady and my rage locked down. I stared at the binder until the office light buzzed overhead. Ethan's face kept rising behind my eyes, his cleft chin, my bones, Emma's gaze. "Friday," I said aloud. Emma looked up. "What happens Friday?" I shut the binder with a snap. "Friday, Grant Caldwell meets me, and he's going to think he's about to take everything I have." Friday morning, I walked into Caldwell Private Wealth with a folder in my hand and a storm in my chest. Marble, glass, quiet music, everything designed to make you feel small. Lydia met me by the elevator, smiling like we were friends. "Cal," she said, "Grant cleared time for you." At the desk, they took my phone. Policy. Alvarez had warned me. The recorder wasn't on my body. It was inside the folder, logged and authorized, clean. Grant Caldwell waited in a corner office with windows over the city. Silver hair, perfect suit, eyes that never warmed. "Mr. Mason," he said, shaking my hand, "Lydia says you sold a business." "I did," I said. "I'm out of my depth with investments." "That's why you're here," Grant replied. He slid papers across the desk. "We start with $400,000. Conservative. You'll see results quickly." "I want to understand the risk," I said. Grant smiled. "If you follow our guidance, there isn't any." I acted hesitant. "And if a client panics, starts asking questions?" His smile thinned. "Then we manage them." "Manage," I repeated, like I didn't understand. "Widowers, divorcees," he said. "They mistake fear for facts. Our job is to keep them from making expensive mistakes." I kept my voice steady. "And if someone becomes a problem?" Grant's eyes held mine. "Problems are removed before they spread." The words hit like ice water. Under the desk, my hand clenched. A knock. Lydia stepped in. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," Grant said. "Mr. Mason is ready." Grant pushed a pen toward me. "Sign today. Tonight is our foundation gala. You'll meet our best clients. You'll see what it means to be protected." "I'll be there," I said. Outside, my hands shook anyway. Emma waited across the street, watching the building like it might bite. Alvarez texted, "We got him. Gala is the move." Marcus was inside too, wearing his grief like a suit. He nodded once. He'd recorded weeks of Lydia's messages. Tonight, he would watch her mask finally fall. That night, the Caldwell Foundation Winter Gala glowed with chandeliers and champagne. Lydia drifted through donors, touching elbows, collecting trust. Grant took the stage and spoke about integrity as if the word belonged to him. Lydia found me near the bar. "Cal," she purred, "Grant says your account is already performing. He thinks you should roll the rest in." "How much is the rest?" I asked. "Everything," she said softly. "If you want a future." I looked at her, beautiful, practiced, empty, and let my voice carry. "My name isn't Cal Mason," I said. "It's Caleb Hart, and the boy you killed was my son." Her glass slipped and shattered. Conversation stopped. Grant's smile froze. "Security," he snapped, pushing through the crowd. "Don't," I said. "Detective Alvarez is outside with warrants." Grant stepped close, eyes sharp now. "You have no proof." I opened my folder and pressed play. Grant's voice filled the ballroom, recorded that morning. "Problems are removed before they spread." A beat of silence. Then whispers rolled like thunder. Alvarez appeared at the doors with officers. "Grant Caldwell, Lydia Caldwell, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, and racketeering." Grant tried to charm, then to threaten. It didn't work. The cuffs clicked. Lydia stared at me like she was seeing me after 22 years of lying. "I didn't mean," she began. I cut her off. "You meant to erase him. Twice." As they led her away, I felt no triumph, only a hollow, brutal clarity. Ethan died looking for family. He found predators instead. The night they arrested Grant and Lydia Caldwell, the news called it a shocking scandal. Donors clutched pearls. Cameras replayed the moment Lydia's glass hit the marble. Nobody replayed Ethan's last hours because there was no footage of a young man fighting for air while someone held him down. Detective Alvarez kept her promise. She kept it clean. Within 48 hours, warrants hit Caldwell Private Wealth. Servers were seized. Phones were cloned. A compliance officer, cornered by subpoenas, handed over internal chat logs that read like a manual on how to empty a grieving person's life. Then Alvarez called me at my shop and said the sentence I'd been bracing for. "We got the middleman." The fixer who restrained Ethan wasn't some movie villain. His name was Dylan Cruz. He'd been picked up on an unrelated assault charge, and when he realized the Caldwells wouldn't pay his legal fees, he traded truth for time. He named the attorney who hired him. The attorney rolled on Grant, and in the end, the chain didn't break. They tried. Grant's lawyers screamed entrapment. They painted me as a bitter ex-husband with a garage and a grudge, but Alvarez laid the timeline out in court like steel on a workbench. Civil complaints going back years, victims who'd settled out of shame, and financial transfers that predated my first meeting with Lydia by a decade. The judge didn't need my anger to see the pattern. The evidence did that. Emma sat beside me every day of the hearings, her hand steady on my forearm when my jaw started to lock. Marcus testified too. He described the way Lydia made him feel chosen, then guilty for asking questions. 12 other men told the same story with different names. I watched their faces and understood what Ethan had understood. Predators don't need strength. They need silence. The verdict came on a gray Thursday. Guilty on all counts. Grant received life without parole. Lydia received a sentence that will outlast her reflection. When they led her away, she turned once and mouthed, "I'm sorry." I didn't answer because I didn't know who she was apologizing to. The son she erased, the daughter she left, or the life she almost stole from Marcus. We buried Ethan 2 weeks later. Alvarez found his adoptive parents' names and a box of photographs from a storage unit. Birthday candles, a Little League jersey, a grin that looked like mine before life got heavy. Emma placed one photo in my blue binder under a new tab, family. Then she took down my old sign, Heart and Son, and replaced it with a simpler one, Heart Family Auto Body. After service, Emma and I sat in the truck, listening to the rain. She said, "He found us too late." I said, "No, he brought us here." Some losses never come back. Justice doesn't return stolen years. It only stops the theft from continuing. If you've ever been blindsided by a family secret or watched someone you loved get targeted when they were grieving, I want you to tell me, where are you watching from and what time is it there right now?